Dun, dun. Got that. Let me get my notes
Recording in
for
progress.
thy cure. Cure thyself. Physician cure thyself. I don't know.
Friday, I'm in apes.
Right. Okay, good. It took a second. It took a second. By the time you finished, I worked it out. Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to think of a good Cure joke, and it was just there isn't
Oh,
really
no
one.
good kid jokes.
The
There's no
three
joking about the
imaginary
cure.
boys, or fugitives, or
Three
three imaginary
imaginary
boys.
gorillas.
Yeah, three imaginary. Okay.
Are
Fuck.
you
All
trying to
right.
work one out for your intro? Is that what you're doing?
I didn't take. I'll have to discuss it on the episode, but I didn't take a whole lot of notes.
Yeah, sure. I
Um.
have notes.
All right.
I have a summary. Do you have trivia?
I hope you have summary. Yes, I have trivia.
Then we're set.
All right. Welcome to Podcast 1999, the podcast about malaria. I'm your doctor, Mark.
I've got a cure and you've got the disease. It's Matt.
Hey,
I don't know what
Friday,
that
I'm in
means.
apes.
There we go. We're all apes, really. That's kind of the unfortunate
Hmm.
conceit of the show. It's like, well, we're just the fourth species of ape, right? Really.
Pretty much, we're just apes part four, diminishing
Everyone's got
returns.
thumbs.
Diminishing returns.
All thumbs.
And returns will continue to diminish long after we're dead. And hopefully, you're listening to this podcast when they're better apes or worse. Uh, Actually tried to watch it more than once because it just didn't really stick to my brain.
This one didn't stick to your brain.
No, I found it kind of difficult.
Okay.
Having a hard time with that. I don't.
Okay.
I found it kind of the rhythm of it. I found just kind of horrible.
Okay, so I got won over by like just screaming insane Urko to a certain amount because this is kind of the screamiest he's been, and that's saying something.
Yes, I was into the apes yelling at each other, but I felt like the uh, whatever the argument, there was basically one argument, and it didn't really. It just got resolved very awkwardly and gradually.
Mm.
There was a lot of screaming about kind of just no, who are you with? What are we doing? No.
I guess for me, part of it would be like, this is like Galen's like notably not fun for the first 75% of the episode, and then he's kind of fun the last 25%. He just like he had a bone up his, craw or something.
Yeah, and that was almost interesting, but it kind of wasn't because it felt like he just kind of I couldn't remember if the humans had told somebody else before. I guess they haven't, but I sort of just assumed that they had. So it was kind of like, oh, really? You just mad at them? You this mad at them over this?
He told the lady in the
Mm.
legacy, didn't he? Did he?
Did you tell the blind lady, the blind ape?
Well, that's an ape, though. Galen was pissed about him telling a human.
Well, yeah, but isn't it worse if you tell an ape? It's like people believe apes.
Hmm.
Ape shall not believe ape. Wait,
Okay.
ape
You just
will
contradicted
believe ape.
yourself. Okay.
Ape will believe ape.
So, well, again, like you say, there's just like inconsistency of viewpoints in the show, right? 2 weeks ago, Galen don't
Mhm.
care. This week he does.
Yeah, and I could be like, well, yeah, he loves dressing up and fooling people. So he's like, why did you not lie to
We
to
do have
that
Urko
woman?
back to cheating at sport, so that's good.
Yes.
I don't know. There was so much like insane Urko in this one. It kind of won me over a little bit. Maybe more than it sounds like it won you over.
I think it frustrated me more that there was so much Urko, but it felt like hard to enjoy it because the thrust of because it was like the episode moved so slowly. It but I bet it was hard for you to write a summary, wasn't it?
No, actually,
No? Okay,
no. So
weird.
let's get through this stuff. Do a trivia.
All
I'll do the
right.
summary, and then we'll crack down deeper into finding a cure for this episode.
Okay. The cure is that this episode was sixth in production order, but the 12th episode aired. Bernard McEve had trouble the last time. Bernard McEve Mc Bernard McEvedy is back to direct. You last saw his work on The Legacy, and the writer of The Trap, Edward J. Laxo, contributed the story. It's the last contribution from both of them to the series. Sandra Locke is here as Amy, born Sandra Smith, that's Sandra with an A, in 1944 in Shelbyville, Tennessee. Locke was her stepfather's name. He married her mother when Sandra was 4, and she took his last name. She ran away from home while enrolled in college, married her best friend Gordon Anderson, who came out to her before they married in the late 60s, although they never divorced. But as her career took off, she became involved with Clint Eastwood, both professionally and personally. Their tumultuous romantic relationship is gone into in so much detail on her IMDb page that it could be the entire podcast. Needless to say, they ended up in court a whole lot, and he was suspected of torpedoing her career and a bunch of other stuff. She starred opposite different apes in Every Which Way But Loose and Any Which Way You Can. She also starred in Willard and Rat Boy, which she also directed if you prefer rats to apes for some reason. Why are you listening to this podcast? Listen to a rat podcast. Anyway, she meanwhile had a prolonged battle with cancer in the 90s, and her final role was a comeback in 2017 as the lead in Ray Meets Hella opposite Keith Carradine at the age of 74. I looked at stills from the movie, and she's still hot at 74. But anyway, that was her first since 2000, and she unfortunately succumbed to cancer after it returned in 2018. David Shiner plays Zoran. Zoran? He was Zoran. Born in 1928 in New York City, he made his debut in 1950 in Tom Corbett Space Cadet. He was mostly a TV actor, but did star in some films such as The Odd Couple. You can also see him as Doc in the Twilight Zone episode, The 30 Fathom Grave, that you can hear us talk about in Time Enough podcast. Spoilers, it wasn't a great episode and we didn't like it. Also, you can see him in Manimal, Rex Harrison Presents Stories of Love, and Skyway to Death. He retired in 1988 and is seemingly still alive. As Cavo, we have Ron Sobel, also born in 1928, but he's from Chicago. He served in the Army, was a Golden Gloves champion, and was a track and field star and a football player. He mostly starred in westerns, but also played Wyatt Earp in the Star Trek episode Spectre of the Gun. He passed away in 2002, and his final role was as a judge in 1999's Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo. For some reason, I had no problem saying that. Finally, George D. Wallace plays Talbert. He was born in New York in 1917, worked in the coal mines before joining the Navy for 8 years of service before and during World War II. After a series of odd jobs, he was discovered while bartending in Hollywood. Starting out in the early 50s, he starred in many serials, which eventually led to more film and TV roles. You can see him in The Towering Inferno, Forbidden Planet, Hot to Trot, Star Trek The Next Generation, The X-Files, and Minority Report. He died in 2005 due to complications from a fall, leaving behind 238 acting credits. And that's the trivia.
Okay, I do a summary. Here we go. Galen, Allen, and Pete have been hanging out in what is as idyllic as you're going to get. Galen, Allen, and Pete have been hanging out in what is as idyllic a village as you're going to get on the planet of the apes. Alan's hooked up with local Amy and revealed their status as astronauts, which disgruntles Galen. But our fugitives have no real place to hang their hat and move on. Then the town comes down with an epidemic of malaria, and they head right back. Council chimp Dr. Zoran shows up to deal with the epidemic his way. They eventually all work together, but then General Urko shows up. His plan is to scream at everyone and then burn the village down. The council vote to wait a bit longer, but Urko arrives early to scream at everyone and burn the village down. Fortunately, Alan had medicated a gorilla the previous evening, and he and the now cured human stop Urko's invasion. Our fugitives finally move on.
Yep.
I think I made a plot out of that. Sounds like a plot.
I'll burn this village.
I'll scream at you and screaming first. And don't forget the screaming. The screaming's important.
Yeah, I don't know what was the deal with this episode. Maybe I was just in a mood, but I tried, I rewatched the first like 20 minutes of it 3 times. I don't know what it was about this. It was just hard for me to like latch onto it.
Maybe that's where it worked better for me because I did end up watching it in two chunks and I watched the first half and I was like, Galen's bitchy, all that. But then I watched the second half and then that kind of like got more traction for me. Bao and Urko shows up, right?
It was just like there was malaria. They
He's
were
got
like,
his
"Hey, there's
hat and
malaria,"
everything in this episode.
and there was medicine. The medicine tasted bad, and then it's almost like if they had just made maybe that it was harder to get the cure, but it was just like the battle was just that apes are stupid and bad.
So are you trying to say General Urko is the RFK of the Planet of the Apes?
Oh, that's in my notes.
Okay, that's in my notes too.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll say yes.
Yeah, it's just he can't get away with yelling that we're gonna burn down villages on TV like yet.
Wait a week. Um,
Well, he said we'll have a cure for autism by this fall, which says to me that they'll just have a trench dug to throw autistic people in.
hmm.
That's how I read it.
That would be an
Um,
Urko move for sure.
yeah, yeah, it sure would. I mean, is Yurko a
Yurko.
eugenicist? Because he's like, well, humans will kill all of them, sort of. He doesn't really say that explicitly, but he threatens enough of it.
Yeah, they do have such a wonky, balance of power in Apeland, which I guess that would read more to your like everything is a dystopia in this world. Because I keep saying, well, the apes built their society, it's their society, but yeah, like
Uh,
you really can't stop this guy, can you? But yeah, I guess it happens in reality, unfortunately.
yeah, it's sometimes unclear to me like how much power Zayas has over Urko. It seems like he has to like have a council vote on it or something to to,
Yeah.
to keep Urko in check, but it's not clearly laid out. It's not like a monarchy, I
By the
think.
way, I think the no votes should have won because they were louder. Because who's in favor? Like, yeah, who says no? No, and so it's like that should win just because it's louder, even if the count is the same. That pushes it
Yeah.
over. They gave n emphatic no's. That's stronger than a yes.
Yeah, I'd say so. The planet of the loudest ape wins.
Yeah,
That's
that's how it
that's
works here. That's
Caesar's
why
will.
Urko's on top. It still just
Well,
blows my mind that Mark Leonard can like yell this much. Since we generally tend to know him as Sarek.
yeah, it's almost like I want to just see if I can find anything else where he gets to get this aggro, or is it just this where he gets to like,
That next gen episode where Sarek has dementia and has to give it all to Picard so he can be normal for a bit, but you get plenty of Mark Lenard going nuts too. So
wasn't it like he mind melds his dementia away for briefly or something?
yes,
Is it that?
but before that, you get to see Mark Lenard doing. I guess it's nicer though when you're watching like not a character you love at the end of their life having a terrible time, but when you see a maniac running around screaming at everyone, burning their villages down. That is more entertaining in a way, right?
Oh, of course.
I mean, do you get deep
Yeah.
philosophical messages? No, you get a crazy gorilla burning things down. But like, I thought he's gonna. Norco still hasn't killed anyone because at the end he's got the gun out, like he's gonna kill that guy, that gorilla, right? And then he doesn't
Yep.
shoot anybody. So yeah, I don't. He's really a pussycat in the end, isn't he?
Yeah, he's I really hope it's something like he's just never killed anybody. I you probably well, I get how many people have been killed in the series?
A
I mean,
few,
I
I
guess
think.
who the hell
That guy, that
knows?
dad dies of the malaria in this episode.
Well,
I guess you mean a violent death, like they were like murdered. What if a shark eats you? That one guy got eaten by a shark.
I'm like looking on his IMDb to see if there are other roles where he might be like some kind of maniac.
Yeah, we're kind of doing him a disservice just to be like, he's Urko, he's Sarek, and that's his career. I'm sure he did plenty of other stuff that's worth
He's
noting. But I don't know about it so much, That's the
he's
catch, right?
a prosecutor in Hang 'em High, so you can maybe see him like yell at Clint Eastwood
Prosecute.
for how
Okay.
badly he treated Sandra Locke. I
All
don't
right.
know. You project that anyway, even though they hadn't met yet. But um,
That's a hit. Can you give me something else? We got anything else? Give me someone hard.
The whole thing where the thing where you first see the one human with the sleeping with the malaria and he's like in the bed shaking was like very terrible and funny.
Right. Oh
He's
yeah,
just
and the
going like,
guy and that guy just drops all his sticks, and then like 20 minutes later, he's just still there.
yeah,
Like people saw him do that, and he's still there. What's up with that?
I don't know.
They're
That this,
lazy. Future humans are lazy. That's the problem. They're dumbasses and
yeah,
they're lazy.
yeah, they're not very likable. Like Amy's not very likable, unfortunately. She's yes attractive, but I'm like, ah, God. All she does is go, like, "You're from another world."
She'll sell you
You
out as
are.
quickly as she can.
Yeah, it's like, oh God. All right, Alan, you
Is
just
Alan
really
just doing
have
this
to
in every
cheat on your.
town? Is he like a port in every town kind of guy? I guess.
I thought it was more Pete than Alan that was taking lovers, but is it technically cheating if your wife's been dead for 3,000 years?
I thought about that temporally. I guess not, because if your other has died, it's just you having personal feelings of not moving on, right? So he can move on. Till
We,
death
we
do
can
they part. She's dead.
we can set aside that we even if this show went on for 8 seasons, we would assume that they did not get back to the
He'd have an ape
past.
wife by season 8.
Like they don't even try. They're not even
Alan would be
trying to
married
get
to a
back in time.
chimpanzee
They're
by
just
season 8.
they're just going from town to town. They're
Alan
not
would be
even
married to
trying.
Galen by season 8.
Oh God, that would be amazing.
Let's see, going along here. It is, I guess maybe the thing that was uncomfortable for you is just watching such a weird like outbreak medical thing going on in 74.
It was just the rhythm of it. It felt mm, like what was the one that we kind of compared to a soap opera?
Is that
Where
the
it's like
blind,
the surgeon and the blind one. It felt like those where it was sort of like
the
just
deception? That was it.
plodding a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
That might have, well, you rewatched the first part several times, you said, which sounds, in my case, I just split the thing,
yeah.
and that seemed to work for me. I didn't come out thinking of this one as being particularly, uh, the ones you just mentioned, I would put under this one like easily. Well, the surgeon has some good stuff, but yeah.
Well, yeah, the surgeon has some really good character moments. It was maybe I'm just thinking of well the legacy is the other one that this director made, and well, no, that one wasn't great.
That
That was
one
the
benefited from
Jack
having
Yarrow
like,
Haley
yeah,
one.
some solid kid acting because of that, right? Oh, the
Yeah, but
kid
it
sucked,
wasn't.
but the acting was good.
But you remember how that kind of was similar to the trap, but just not as good, like at all.
Yeah, I
You
still
know,
put out the trap as sort of being the one that really got me for the series. So, if I had to suggest one for people to check out, I'd suggest the trap, I think.
that was probably my second favorite behind the
Oh yeah,
Was it
that's
the
certainly weird and stuff. Yeah,
interrogation?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That gets into that bizarro stuff on your end.
Like everyone I've talked to in the past couple of weeks, they're like, "What's going on?" Oh man, we watched this episode of Planet of the Apes series where a bunch of apes had a guy on a turntable and rotating him, and they were brainwashing him. It was great.
Okay. See, I'd be like, oh, they were stuck in the barn and it was all, weird and apocalyptic. So with a psychotic gorilla.
I guess it's harder to explain why that episode's good, but yeah,
Right.
that episode is very very good. It's like Urko. I think Urko works better in like an intimate setting than he does like in a big council yelling at a bunch of apes at the same time.
Okay, I liked him screaming at the council. I thought that was so. I guess
Yeah.
it's just what appeals. But no, I was
Yeah.
fully into him screaming at a bunch of orangutans. That was great.
I mean, they all deserve it probably.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course. I was glad that they made sure that to name the dead gorilla, so we knew it wasn't Jason the gorilla. So he's still fine. That's still going along.
Yeah. I think this is another one of those where there's some uh supporting players that are like gorilla soldier and gorilla something,
Yeah. Like,
gorilla
but yeah,
something other.
with McDowell, yeah, I felt like he was kind of slipping into more Cornelius vibes for the first half of this episode. Like, it didn't feel like Galen. It felt more like Cornelius for that first part, you know?
Yeah, that was kind of a weird. I mean, Roddy McDowell did a great job, but it didn't like Galen's grumpiness didn't feel earned like at all.
And then last week he's running around in an insane costume, being pretending to be a complete twat, right? Which that was fantastic. It's like now we have to do this the next week. I don't like that.
I guess that yeah, I guess that's a big that was kind of a big blemish for me was that it didn't feel like Galen. You know, Galen feels like he's gotten weirder and weirder and is extremely likable. And this like I understand his grievance, but he went like so far in the direction of I am angry and I will not forgive you. You
Maybe
know,
maybe he's bipolar.
I mean, yeah, maybe he was just having his like maybe apes. Do male apes have periods?
Yes. I
Okay,
mean, you mean in reality?
maybe it's that.
You're asking about Planet
No,
of the Apes, right?
no, not in reality. I'm just saying
I was
science
just gonna say
fiction.
I was gonna say yes to Planet of the Apes apes.
Like I would never have said that if he was like a female ape. I can only say that it was just like
Well, that's why I agreed so
science
quickly
fiction.
too.
Yes. I don't know. It that yeah. Sometimes an episode just doesn't necessarily hit for someone. Yeah, there's somebody billed as orangutan. M- There's Mason. I think that was one of the
Yeah, they threw out. No, I was definitely like when the opening credits are scrolling, not scrolling, but flashing, whatever. I was just like, man, this is just such a litany of sci-fi names. I think I said it last week, but we should get. I want a job just thinking of sci-fi names. Mark, give me a sci-fi name now.
Glorbex.
The ore part. Good. It sounds
D-
globulous.
Ding Drangus.
There, that works better. I'll take Drangus. See,
Uh,
that's a job, right? You do have to like you do a little bit of plussing up and all that sort of stuff.
so like one of the other the orangutan is in a movie called The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant. This
Ooh.
brain wants to love, this brain wants to kill. It was directed by Anthony Lanza. Why does that sound so familiar? Oh, is it because he has the same last name
The
as the character
cinematographer.
from Inglorious Bastards?
Maybe. Who's the guy that was the DP on Ghostbuster? I think he had a similar name and directed some movies.
Incredible two-headed transplant.
Ghostbusters. See, when you do a search live on your podcast, you just have to vamp it out.
He
Okay.
also made a movie called The Glory Stompers.
Ooh, I want to stomp me some glory.
It's a biker movie. Ride your hogs and saddle your hogs and ride, man. It's the Black Souls versus the Stompers and the deadliest cycle gang war ever waged. We just have a podcast where we watch all this stuff.
Laszlo Kovacs, that's who I was thinking of.
Ah, that's a good name.
That's a great name. That's why I had to sit here and look it up. He was the DP for Easy
Hmm.
Rider, Ghostbusters, Five Easy Pieces. He was Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He was a dude. Actually, it just says camera and electrical department for Close Encounters, so maybe he was not the cinematographer. But
Did I tell you that when I was a kid, I thought that Five Easy Pieces was a movie about Jack Nicholson cutting someone into five pieces?
I thought it was about a puzzle.
Ah. Ah.
Okay, that's all I gotta say about that. I don't know. Is there anything
What?
else? Do you want to just start doing questions on this? I mean, I'm sitting here and like, yeah, they got malaria. Now
I've
that
never had malaria.
I've
I
never
don't
had,
think I
I
know
think it's a big
anybody who's
deal
had
if you have malaria.
malaria.
I worked when I did outdoor
Huh.
education. I remember, I worked with one girl said she had malaria, and apparently you never like really quite get over malaria.
Ugh.
Like you
I
still
know that's like apparently when you have the measles when you're a kid, you could just get encephalitis and die a few years later. So, we'll find out about that soon
Hmm. Oh yeah.
because of the Urco of humans.
Right. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Malaria does screw you up. I think even because she claimed that she get like tired easily or whatever, right? Which I guess that could have been an excuse, but it sounded correct.
It's like Lyme disease,
Yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah.
basically.
It's along the lines of Lyme disease, right?
Where it's like I've known a couple of people who've had Lyme disease, and um, honestly, one of them was actually one of the most horrible people I've ever met. But Still,
Because they
even he
deserved
didn't
it.
deserve Lyme disease. No, even he didn't.
Right.
This sounded really really terrible.
Mm. For this one, I guess if we got a few more points, we'll wedge them in somewhere. But let us do a few
Mm.
questions on this one. How much of this is sci-fi fun? How much of it is existential dread?
I guess it's like 70 dread, 30 fun because I didn't think it was very fun, but there was like, disease everywhere. That's dreadsy.
Yeah, yeah, that'll always do it, right? Because what do you have going on film this time? The Andromeda Strain. Of course, I'm thinking of Contagion, which came out what 2012 or something. But
Yeah. Maybe this would be less dready if we were going over it like 6 years ago. I don't know.
yeah, well, I do know I watched the Andromeda Strain like recently, but pre-pandemic, and that one still feels not dreadful, but dready. It's got
I'm
dreads.
not.
It's got the locks.
I know I've said before that I'm not really into disaster movies, but like especially like disease movies. Like I don't really want to engage with that kind of thing
I guess I
all that
can see
much. So
where
maybe that's part of
it's a
why I
little
don't
bit.
didn't enjoy this episode because I have no like I just don't have any interest in watching like people be sick because it's not interesting. Like what do you have to you give people an assignment and their assignment is to lay in a bed and go, "Oh." It's it's like watching Human Centipede 2 where all those people were just, had centipede stuff going on.
Hmm. Right. Sorry, that erased the thought I had. There was gonna say something, and then you had me thinking of human centipede parts, and that's kind of a palate. What's the opposite of a palate cleanser? It still cleanses the palate, but everything's dirty now.
A palate sullier.
Yeah, okay, you that was a palate sullier for me. Um, I was basically gonna agree with your 70-30. The 30 mostly being because I was just like loving the Urko-ness, which seemed like extra strength Urko is maybe too much for you, but I was into it. You can
No,
lead a
I
gr
don't. Urko is not a problem I have with this. It's like I appreciated him. It's like I was more mad at the episode because I felt like the episode was coming between me and my beloved Urko screaming.
you can lead a gorilla to water, but you can't Urko a horse, I believe is the phrase.
Well, you can Urko a horse, but then the horse might not win the race.
Okay, have we here's something. Have we crossed the line now where Alan has specific knowledge in too many fields? Because when it was farming, as he grew up on a farm, okay. Well, now he knows animal husbandry really well too, and I mean that could still be the farm. Now he's like, I know how to cure malaria without
But
a hot, any
he knows
support
how to
from,
cure malaria, but he can't keep Galen happy.
right,
He can't keep his mouth shut around
and he can't
dumb
keep it in his
humans.
pants apparently.
No. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, Sandra Locke pretty hot, but yeah, I don't know. She was
I'm
not.
not Bespritzer. Just while we're on, it's just
No.
it was a fun zinger for the moment.
But her characterization was just like, "No, you're not from another world. There is no world. You just want to leave." And I was
Yeah,
like,
I'm
"Oh
not
my
sure it was all
god,
Clint Eastwood
stop."
that's put a stymied her career.
Well, she wasn't in very much, to be honest. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of those things where he also like cast her in a lot of films that was a big part of her career. It's
Yes.
I think he was also he might have been kind of mad that she was married to her gay friend her entire life.
Right. It might be that thing where was it the Twilight Zone where I was like, and he was Steve McQueen's BFF, so he's in just like five Steve McQueen movies. So I think it was the Twilight Zone episode, but it's like, but it's not
Mm,
someone anybody knows the name or probably won't recognize the face
yeah.
of. So
I'm pretty sure Clint Eastwood was and probably still is an absolute bastard.
what are you
He
talking about?
probably would show up and scream about burning a village.
He wouldn't scream. He'd mumble about burning the village.
We're gonna burn
We're gonna
this
burn this place
village.
to the
Go with
ground, and
malaria.
it's all gonna burn.
Yeah, he's just holding a gun quietly that and shoots a barrel that explodes, burning the village with malaria in
Mm,
it.
he's gonna cry macho.
He's got to be a better person than John Wayne. I'll give him that.
A different era too for that guy. So,
And also a better actor than John. Like let's give credit
oh
where credit's
God,
due.
yes, okay. Clint Eastwood, better
Jesus
actor than John.
Christ.
That's a pretty uncontroversial take, dude.
No.
That's
Yeah.
like me saying like George Carlin's a better comedian than Carrot Top, you know? We're not really
eh,
punching in the same weight class there.
somebody might disagree with me, but they're maybe not really in touch with stuff
Well, let's
and
grant this
things.
episode a few bananas. How many bananas would you like to give this episode?
I'm just gonna give it 3 bananas because that's how many people were cured of malaria this day.
Okay, I'm
I
gonna
think
give
it
it
was
five,
3.
but they're all infected with malaria.
Oh, okay.
It gets 5 malaria-infected bananas.
Banana malaria sounds like some kind of like calypso song.
And
Banana
that's where this
malaria.
isn't a quality scale. It's like, what is the
Nope.
funniest number of malaria infected bananas to have? And I was like, five. One. I mean, it's five or one, and five is more excessive, and I chose that.
I mean, someone's gonna be yelling that more than 3 people or less than 3 people were cured of malaria, and I'm like, I don't care. I didn't
Mark's
pay
not
much
watching this
attention.
episode again. He's not going to check.
I'm not watching it again. This was kind of taxing. Anyway,
Okay. No, it
so
is funny when they're like, okay, everyone puts on masks. So you and I are sitting there thinking of like, it maybe not like a paper surgical mask because it's the Planet of the Apes, but we're thinking of this, and then they all show up in like freaking, like sack claws over their head.
yeah,
Like, it's great. And they had like mouth holes and stuff.
yeah. And Urko was like, "What do you mean we? Who do you talking about? Why are you? It's like it's sort of like that thing where he's almost telepathic, where he knows everything everyone's trying to pull, but then they get away with it anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Come on, Urko, man. What
yeah,
a put a down upon guy, you know? All he wants to do is scream and burn things down, and they won't let him. But let him scream.
absolutely.
You can't stop him from screaming, I guess.
I
So
want to give Urko his own like 2 bananas that are clean.
infected with okay,
Just
not
give him some.
malaria ones.
No, he can't get malaria because he has to show back up to scream more.
Okay.
Um, it's there was like on one of these fan sites a very long like uh spiel by Chris Claremont from like a Marvel magazine about this episode, and I found it like very difficult to read or take anything from because his language was just so like beatnik.
He doesn't do that in the X-Men, does he? Has the X-Men got beatnik language? I feel
No,
like
I
it
mean it was
doesn't.
him just him talking like it was him like talking about what he saw on the set
So I could
because
be
he
down
was
with
like
his
visited the
groove.
set. Yeah, it was
I'm feeling
let
down
me
on the
see if I
groove of the
can
apes, spiffing it up.
uh, I'll see if I can
I'm feeling
find it
downtown.
very, very fast and read an excerpt because it was I found it kind of like impenetrable. Um,
Okay. Yeah, it
all
was kind
right,
of
a
like
couple of yeah, there was he goes into like 3 paragraphs about how hard it is to apply the ape makeup.
I
I was out at the Fox Ranch up in Malibu Canyon watching the Apes crew go to work on their next episode, The Cure, under the direction of Bernard
do
McEvedy.
it, do it.
Now, right off the bat, I would like to say that Los Angeles and its environs are very strange. I mean, this is a city of a few million inhabitants, sprawled out over Lord knows how many square miles, and you're in the city, calmly driving down the freeway, and then boom, all of a sudden you're not. You're in the country, and as far as you can tell from the land, there isn't a city within miles. It's a very abrupt change for one used to the never-ending urban splutch of the Boney Watch, oh, Boston, New York,
I mean, that
Washington,
sounds like the yellow
megalopolis, and if
boxes
I
of
may say
narration in
so,
an X-Men comic.
it's just going and going and going and going and going and going, and I
That
don't know.
sounds like 80s X-Men narration, so you can tell it's that
Hey,
dude.
to set the scene, the cure involves our heroes, a gorgeous young love interest type named Amy, Urko, Zaius, Malaria, some rather pig-headed medical chimpanzees, and some rather belligerent gorillas, and the bark of the chinchana tree. No earthquakes, though. This is a big budget episode, a lot of exteriors necessitating a fair amount of background villagers, men, women, children, appropriate farm animals of all ages and degrees of health. See, this is like This is almost as long as the Sandra Locke Clint Eastwood history in her IMDb page, which
Well,
is to
let's.
say it is uh, about 8 big paragraphs.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Okay, sorry, I'm actually bringing up some old school X-Men stuff. It loads. Where the hell is it? I was gonna look at some actual like Chris Claremont narration here. Also, for my Disney podcast, I just watched the movie Mars Needs Moms, which I'm not necessarily recommending at all, but it did have this funny thing where it had like there's one character, alien character has learned 60s slangs from watching a hippie show, like that somehow got beamed to Mars. There's a kind of a Star-Lord guy who talks in all 80s slang, and then the kid in the movie, which is disturbingly a mocap of Seth Green that's supposed to be a 9-year-old, is using, like aughts slang. So you have the three main characters all talking in different eras of slang heavily. So none of what you just read with Chris Claremont is as bad as that.
How is Berkeley breathed on a writer on this?
Oh,
Breathed?
Marzi's
Is
moms. He
that how
wrote. He
you?
wrote. He wrote the children's book that's based on.
Oh,
There's a reasonable
weird.
explanation there.
Because I think I always heard Marley's Moms was like notoriously bad. It's not rated super duper low. Weird.
It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. If that's like a any
Mm,
anything to
good.
yeah.
I mean, he directed. Oh, his first movie was American Tail 5 Goes West.
Sorry. Okay, I'm sitting here trying to this. Okay, I was trying to read some Chris Claremont actual narration, but I'm using this website. It's just like causing headaches and problems. I can't do that now. So, but it sounded
Mm.
like that style is his very clearly.
Yeah, he just is going. He's
If you
just
can't read
talking.
that, it's
It's
not out of whack for him, you
it's
know?
difficult. Yeah, it's just so much. There's a very long story about how there were goats and they kept like talking over Alan, so they took the goats out.
It's probably a good call. I saw goats
Yeah,
yesterday,
it's
but they were
just
very quiet goats.
that takes like a very long paragraph for him to say. Where I just
Mm.
feel like one of the good things about IMDb is the trivia tends to be like one sentence at a time.
Mm,
I'm yeah, I'm just not so into this beating around the bush and then dancing around the bush and then going walking around the bush and
right.
then circling the bush a bunch.
Well, shall we go ahead and burn this
If
village to the ground for today?
Yeah, if you want to burn this village to the ground, then send fire to patreon.com/podcastia. Send us money and then just put in the notes for fire. Um Nah, really, podcastias.org, other podcasts like Films of Filth, like Time Enough podcast about Twilight Zone that I've mentioned a bunch of times. Um, Occult Disney that Matt mentioned a bunch of times. Game Show about games. Monster Mash about Monster Hunter. Luke Loves Pokemon about, you guessed it, Pokemon. Uh, Follow some Blue Sky at podcast. And I think you just sent me Chris Claremont narration through the chat, right?
No,
Did
I
that
didn't. I
happen?
still haven't found this. I'm having a hell of a time.
Oh,
So everyone look up your own
weird.
Chris Claremont stuff. That's your holiday, your homework. Uh,
My phone just told me that my phone just told me about the when you sent the Zoom invite. So I guess my phone is broken or something.
oh well. How'd you get on the Zoom?
Oh, wait, through the computer. Phone's different.
Yeah, I'll probably
Phone's
cut
not the
before that.
computer.
I'm probably gonna cut before that.
Okay.
So I'm looking at this comic book site where I'd like read comic books from, and now it seems to be suddenly like extremely broken, which that sucks.
Hmm.
Like I kept trying to be
Yeah.
like, show me more than the front. It's like wants me to load every page separately now, and I'm like, and then so I had the Inferno trade paperback. I'll just go to the first one there, and it's like, oh, it's X Factor, so I didn't write that. So I'm like, kind of like, it would be really hard to find unless I
Yeah,
just scroll through.
I found that narration. I found that writing just impenetrable as shit. Like, I don't know. If you want to read it, I'll just put the link in
It's
the.
just so annoying because yeah, it's like right here, and I can't get to it. Okay, I'm gonna make one more try
Uh,
because I was looking at the Inferno one. That one has a great example of this, but I have to go like 5 issues, and every time I tell it to show me all pages, it just like screw you, it's one page. It's really freaking annoying.
I mean, okay. I just linked to a Reddit post from DuckDuckGo. You and the X-Men have saved the world from a nuclear holocaust, but you'd lost a man to do it. And try as you might, you can't balance those scales in your mind or in your heart. Can you, Cyclops? And he says no. And then the panel says, "Can you?" And he says no. And then the panel says, "Can you?" And he's like, "No."
I
That's
God
actually
damn it,
kind
it's
of
another X
funny.
Factor. Okay, sorry. This thing's just
He's just yelling at his character. Like, what the fuck?
yeah, that's no, no, that's, I'm almost there, I think. This is just like maddening.
Oh. Yeah, interesting. Like one of the top comments says, "I love Claremont narration. It's so over the top and purple."
Mm-hmm.
It's
Purple?
like purple prose, which is exactly the term for what I should have. I forgot about this term, but yeah, it is basically that. It's like fucking overly. It's overly flowery to the point where you can barely stand it.
Okay. And I
In
have the
literary
perfect example. I'm
criticism,
just having a
purple.
hell of a time getting to it still. Fuck. This is
Yeah,
so
it
frustrating. Okay, I think I'm
purple
there.
prose is okay.
Uh,
Overly ornate prose text that may disrupt a narrative flow by drawing undesirable attention to its own extravagant style of writing, thereby diminishing the appreciation of the prose overall. That's exactly what it is.
I finally fucking found it. Okay, here we go. This
Okay,
is what I wanted to read on air. Maybe I'll edit and splice it in because I'm still recording. This is from
sure.
Uncanny X-Men. Uh, something. The first one, I can't go back because there's a prologue. Here we go. Saturday night, Australia, middle of nowhere. She doesn't care. Alison Blair, Dazzler, on the prowl, looking for action, hungry for some fun.
That's
She's just hit the
ridiculous.
jackpot. She does with a vengeance. This is when she starts singing. They're hooked from the first note as she rips into a rough, raunchy rendition of Proud Mary that puts Tina Turner to shame. One song flows into another, the band taking its cue from her, playing with a power and intensity they've never known before, reaching for heights they never dreamed existed. The set building naturally and inexorably to a fevered pitch crescendo of excitement. No one present can remember ever having had so much fun. And that goes double for Dazzler. This is what she was born to do, reaching out from heart and soul through her voice to touch the hearts and souls of her audience. Here is where
Jesus
she truly
Christ.
feels alive. It's a moment of sublime, transcendent glory. She'd cheerfully give her soul to have it last forever.
That's that's too much.
It's like way over the top. That's why, yeah, that's what I was
Ah,
trying to find. But yeah, just this site is now broken, so it was really hard to find it. If I
that makes
remember, I'll
perfect
do an
sense.
actual edit, but I'm going to hit stop recording for now.
That's